All right, so let me just say real quick that um, this James Gunn Superman looks like a Walmart great value off-branded version of the Superman that we got with Henry Cavill. Now, I'm not even really a big fan like that of the Zack Snyder's universe, but I will say that there was a lot of room for that version of Superman to grow. And even though it was a darker, grittier Superman, it was quite different, which is why I actually liked Henry Cavill's Superman, because we get to see Superman in a darker tone that we normally don't, and or that we haven't seen before. And I think that with Zack Snyder getting fucked over and with Henry Cavill getting fucked over and them not being able to finish what they had planned for the next decade, I think that it has caused, it's basically caused us to get this cheapened version of Superman. And this doesn't even go just for Superman, okay? This has been going on for the last 2-3 years with all of the hero films from the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the DC Universe. People act like DC is so bad just because they had a couple bad films. Marvel, to me, honestly, has been worse with the amount of garbage that they've been putting out with She-Hulk, the Eternals. There are so many failed projects and so many bad Marvel films that have come out in the last 2 to 3 years that it's so baffling. It's actually unbelievable. And to think these movies are going to be the movies that are going to be left over for our generation. They're so bad. The VFX team is either underpaid or they're being rushed, because the CGI for all of these hero films are completely rushed, as if they gave them a 2-week time span to get the CGI ready. And if you watch movies like 2004 Spider-Man 2, where Spider-Man fights Dr. Octopus on the fucking train, the CGI in that entire scene is better than probably 95% of everything that we've been seeing with hero films in the last 5 years. And that's the honest truth. And you can even compare that CGI to the CGI in Spider-Man No Way Home, which was god awful and quite frankly takes you out of the film experience in some moments, especially when they're all running together in unison and they're swinging around. I understand that, you do need CGI to capture certain moments effectively, but they could have definitely used a more practical approach to when they were running, and they could have done more practical stunts. I feel like the lack of practical stunts there really fucked up a lot of good things that could have been better in that film. But back on topic to Superman, okay? Back on topic to this James Gunn Superman thing. This topic right now is on fire. I've been following this shit since the very first reveal. I've been on top of this. I know everything that's going on right now with this whole James Gunn Superman ordeal. And what I have to say is that when I first saw the first reveal of this James Gunn Superman, I was very open-minded. I wasn't trying to judge. I said, well, maybe this might be a more classic Christopher Reeves type of feel, and let's see what they do with it, right? Then we started getting more clips. Then we started getting more photos. Then we got the video, the flying video, and now we have the trailer and the sneak peek. And so far, it looks like they're taking a more lighthearted approach. But this lighthearted approach that that James Gunn is taking is going to be the death of this film. Okay, we already know James Gunn's track record, and honestly, he is the last person I would ever put to direct films like for DC. I would never have James Gunn be in charge of anything DC. DC's always been a darker, much more mature themed type of alternative for people that weren't fans of Marvel growing up back in the 90s and the early 2000s and so on. And I feel like that darkness and that grittiness that we get with a lot of that we have with essentially the comics and all the DC movies. Honestly, the DC films actually tone it down a bit because it's much more graphic in a lot of these different series and a lot of these different comic book issues. A lot of these heroes, there's a lot more violence. You know, if you look at Homelander and the violence in there, like DC comics are very graphic. And I just think that putting somebody like James Gunn ahead of DC's universe is the absolute worst thing that could have ever happened to DC. And it makes me wonder, it really makes me sit back and wonder sometimes, are they purposely doing this? Is someone being paid to ruin DC so that Marvel can get better ratings or something? Maybe there's like a mole. I don't know, but the thing is that it's clear as day. Anyone can clearly see that with the direction in which DC is going now that James Gunn is here. And the direction is far, far worse than anything Zack Snyder could have made. It's just awful. It's abysmal. The suit looks cheap. The suit looks like something that you would buy at Party City. The suit looks very cheap. It looks like something that you would buy at, like, you would order online. Like, instead of getting the cheap Superman outfit, you opt for the $50 Superman outfit, the deluxe edition, and you order that instead. That's what this costume looks like. It has unnecessary lines on it. The typical MCU template for generic heroes, a suit that has a turtleneck and a bunch of unnecessary lines. I don't like the design. It looks terrible for him. It looks bad on David Cornsweet. And the thing is, this is not even his fault as an actor. I'm not even going to blame him. I'm not even going to say he's miscast. I just think the way that James Gunn is handling him is fucking terrible. The trunks that Superman is wearing look like a fucking diaper. It's baggy and it's clunky. It's chunky looking. It looks loose fitting. It does not look fitting. It looks like something that, somebody who makes homemade outfits, like this looks like a homemade outfit. That's the first thing that one of the things that I don't like is the suit. I don't like it at all. It looks terrible. It doesn't look good in any different lightings. It just looks bad. Number two, I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's this fucking Instagram filter that it looks like this film was made with like this blue hue, like this Instagram filter. And honestly, it makes this Superman look even more cheap because the way the camera is and the filter that they put over this film looks like something from the early 2010 Instagram days, the morning dew filter, or like one of those filters that you put on Instagram when people used to use the Instagram filters nonstop. When Instagram first came out, like that's what this film, if you look at the sneak peek and you look at the trailer, it looks like this film has a filter over the camera. And I don't know whose decision it was to do this, but it looks very cheap. That's the second thing that makes this film look very low quality, is that filter and the fucking cheap costume. Or see, I even said costume, I didn't say suit. Wow, that's crazy. The suit looks like it was made by somebody like me and you and I. It does not look like a $1 million company really invested their time into this suit. It doesn't look like a movie quality suit at all. It looks terrible. If I'm wrong about this film, I'll say, I'm wrong. I'll give it a chance, but I'm not gonna see this film in the theaters, and neither should you. I think we should boycott this film. I think that this film being boycotted and James Gunn's Superman, not doing well in the box office is going to send the biggest message to these corporations that we're not going to sit here and swallow this bullshit anymore with these shitty, meaningless storylines with no depth, these useless side characters, once again, with no depth to them. these fucking these cheap suits that they're making that seem like they're being made with no passion at all. You know, this is a result of what happens when you don't care about something but you want to make some quick money. So you do the bare minimum and you try to do it to where it doesn't seem obvious. You know, they think we're stupid. They think we're dumb because of all the things that we've been consuming and blowing our money on shit the last fucking decade. Blowing our money, giving it a chance, giving Marvel movies a chance, giving DC movies a chance, whether they're good or not. You know, they think that just because it's Superman that it'll sell, that the IP will sell because it's Superman, and that James Gunn has a name for himself, so it'll sell. That's not how it works. I think we should boycott this film, and there's hundreds of thousands of people already talking about this shit, you know, about the boycott, and, you know, making this film be the film that gets the message there clearly, because Zack Snyder was fucked over and couldn't finish what he was supposed to finish. He had plans, he had storyboards, he had drafts, he had things ready, and he had the passion. And I think that there's a lot of room for Zack Snyder's universe to grow, being that we got the feedback of, you know, the feedback is there now from years. We're seeing what works and we're seeing what doesn't work. And I think that now that we see what works and what doesn't work, this will actually work in favor of Zack Snyder. I think it'll work in his favor, and I think he'll make some necessary tweaks and changes to make the best version of his universe. And I think that Zack Snyder's universe needs to continue. And I'm not going to spend my money. I'm going to keep my wallet closed. I'm going to hold on to my wallet, and I'm not letting it see the fucking light of day when it comes to DC films. I don't care about Supergirl or whatever the fuck that James Gunn has planned over there. I think that this tone the tone that James Gunn brings is not the right tone for DC or for Superman. And, you know, I used to think that maybe I was going a little bit too far. Maybe Harsh Critics was being a little too harsh. You know, if you guys ever watch his videos talking about this new Superman film, he has the same viewpoints that I do on this, just as much as there's a lot of people who are talking about this shit right now. I understand there's people that want to keep the peace, and they say, you know, we got to accept the fact that Zack Snyder is gone, but that doesn't mean that we have to accept garbage. This film looks terrible. It looks worse than anything that Zack Snyder's put out, looks wise, and what we've seen. What I saw with the crypto, you know, seeing the crypto sneak peek was just bad. I don't like the fact that James Gunn thinks it's acceptable to portray Superman as someone who's very relatable and overly relatable. I think he's trying to make Superman relatable, and he's failing at that by making the first couple of things that we see on the Superman be him being vulnerable. By showing us a vulnerable Superman from the trailers, he thinks that somehow this is going to make Superman more relatable, and it's not. It's actually disrespectful to the character, because Superman is supposed to symbolize hope, and he's the alpha and the omega of DC. And, you know, he is one of the best, if not the greatest superhero ever. And to portray him in this light is just weird for a trailer, for, you know, being the first couple things that you see. I just don't like it. I think it's weird. I don't like the vibe that James Gunn brings. I don't like his history, and the vibe that he brings to hero films is not suitable for DC. And one more thing before I go that I want to say is that, you know, what is wrong with you guys that defend James Gunn before he's even put anything out? Like, I understand being open-minded, and I'm not even really a Zack Snyder fan like that, to that extent that a lot of other people are. But common sense is something that I don't know what the fuck has been going on these days, but it seems like people just don't have common sense. And the thing is that, like, how can you sit here and fight tooth and nail and defend James Gunn when clearly, first of all, he hasn't put out anything yet from DC, and second of all, what he has put out has been very low quality, low effort. I don't know why we're glazing this Superman like it's the best thing since sliced bread. I don't understand. My brain can't make the connection. It seems as if there is a particular either group of people, because there's no way this is the entire collective, but those of you out there who blindly just, glaze everything that comes out just because it's new, you guys gotta stop that shit. We're the consumer. We have the power, and you saw what happened when they fucked up Sonic for the film. They changed it. We have power to make great movies. We have the power to raise the standard and raise the bar for what we're going to be watching in the theaters. Like, don't you guys want to watch movies that actually have an emotional impact on you? Don't you guys want to watch a movie that makes you feel like you want to buy the physical copy, even though physical copies are going out of, becoming extinct now? But that's beside the point. It's that, don't you guys want quality? Don't you guys want to, watch a film that has come out that you don't have to go back and watch an old film from 2001 or 1990 or 1985 or 2007 to enjoy a good film? Like, films nowadays Hollywood right now is not in a good state right now. It really isn't. I don't know what's going on, but the big part of the problem is that a lot of you motherfuckers are just rolling over and taking shit up the ass. You're taking shitty CGI. You're taking whatever the fuck Marvel throws at you. You're taking whatever the fuck DC throws at you, and you're accepting it, and you're blindly defending it, and you're saying that we should give the studios a chance. They should be begging us for a chance to watch their fucking movie. And the thing is, I would honestly not mind this Superman if Zack Snyder had finished what he was supposed to finish first, and he didn't. So fuck them. And just like, the other people out there who just started within the last year or so have been taking a stand on this shit and have been talking about how we need to get our voices heard more because of the shit that is being put out there. I believe that Hollywood will change, and I do think that these movies will become better. And honestly, if you guys have heard already, James Gunn went through a bunch of reshoots already. And that just proves to show you that goes to show you that he said he wouldn't do any reshoots, and he's doing reshoots as we speak right now because of the feedback of the people. That's what you guys need to understand. Stop blindly defending everything and rolling over and taking shit up the ass, and letting these Hollywood executives fuck you up the ass. Like, they're using you because you're fucking ignorant, you're stupid, and you just don't understand what a real film is and what quality is. And, I also want to add to the fact that I know that this is about Superman, but, this is another reason why we have shows from Disney, like the new Spider-Man, the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man show, which apparently is getting praised because the characters are fleshed out and they actually have backstories, and it's not all about Spider-Man. There's actually character development with these characters. That's nothing new. They had 4 shows. They could have done that 4 shows ago, but we had to wait 4 whole cartoon series of Spider-Man to actually get a show where there's character development. The last show that we had of Spider-Man where there was actual character development was back in 2009 with Spectacular Spider-Man, and that's a damn fucking shame. And just because the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man show is bringing back some of those core basics, which every show should have, doesn't mean that we should praise it just for the bare minimum. I mean, there's race swaps out the fucking ass with that show, which I don't mind. That's not the point. But the point is, it's nothing to ride home about, and it's overrated. We've seen Spider-Man already in high school how many fucking times? It's time to go back to the basics. It's time to get back to the original core of the character, which wasn't in high school for the entire fucking duration of his life as Spider-Man. And, you know, I think that ever since Disney bought out Marvel, they've been dropping shit and releasing shit. And I think that James Gunn joining DC is basically the equivalent of DC buying Marvel, and it's a goddamn shame. And, you know, before I head out, I just want to tell you guys that, you know, really think about this. You know, before you go to the theaters to see this movie, think about it. If you don't see this movie and this movie doesn't do well, it's going to send the message out that we're no longer going to be accepting garbage. And I know that you don't think lowly of yourself. I know that you value yourself way more than that to give your money away for the 100th time for garbage. And I just want to say, for anybody that was thinking the same thing but was too afraid to say it, I said it for you. So I recommend you watching Harsh Critics on YouTube. His channel talks about movies, but not only movies, but he's been on top of his game when it comes to the downfall of DC right now. And I do believe because of his channel, it's causing other people to create newer channels, and he actually has garnered the attention from James Gunn and DC. They have watched his videos, so I recommend watching his videos, and I recommend you that if you want to make a video talking about this and join for this fucking boycott, that you do the same. But anyways, I am out. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Do you guys think that James Gunn's Superman is going to be better than Henry Cavill's, or do you think that we should go back to Zack Snyder and finish what he had established there? I'm out.